Welcome to the Boston Art Podcast,
Boston's premier art podcast,
where we talk art, culture, and philosophy.
My name is Theodore Earthworms.
And I am Brian Huntress.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, we don't really, the last time we recorded someone interviewing us, it wasn't really for any real reason other than it was a cool companion thing to the thing that someone else wrote.
Oh, cool.
It was that was really cool that we got to capture that moment, and they got a really cool piece out of it.
Yeah.
And it got to promote the piece too.
Right. Well, we're a whole conceptual nightmare scenario, so I'm going to have to explain it a little bit.
Please do.
But the third thing I wanted to tell you is I have really bad ADHD, so we're going to get along great.
No,
and I'm so sorry.
I have it too. It's fine.
Oh, you do? Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm comforted by the fact that doesn't come across on the podcast, though. That makes me feel good.
No, I was because you mentioned him having it.
I call you out all the time.
I can feel it.
Yeah.
With you, you're a great masker. Congratulations, and also I'm so sorry.
Thank you. I have
That's good
anxiety.
feedback.
Oh, okay. That's probably it. You should, I've got a great therapist if you want a number. Anyway.
I might ask you about that later.
Do you get a discount on referrals?
God, no. She's not even in my network. It sucks.
Oh,
so
damn.
you definitely don't want her number. I also have to tell you, because I think this will add a really interesting dimension to our conversation, is I'm a digital marketer by trade.
Cool.
I'm the villain.
Oh.
Literally the villain in all of my friends' stories.
Interesting.
So I know the back end of the internet so well, and so I am very seldom on it. Yeah.
What kind of work do you do digital marketing? Do you market do you freelance for different companies, selling shit, or is it
Yeah, I used to. So it started out just I was young, the internet was growing up, digital marketing just started to be a thing, and my internships, they're you're young, here's our socials.
Yeah.
And so I grew up with the industry, and eventually I ended up doing corporate, ad agencies, and
Cool.
working with small teams and farming myself out to corporate, which felt bad. It made me want to die, because it feels I don't know, I'm sure some sex workers love their jobs, but intellectual sex work is what it felt like, which is fine.
Yeah.
It just felt like I was compromising a lot of my ethics, personal ones, to make white guys richer.
Yeah.
Yeah, which made me uncomfortable.
Did you feel it was kind of almost psychological manipulation of consumers?
Oh, and it still is. So this is the thing. If you get interested in this, you get sucked in because it is gamified psychological manipulation.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. I know so much about so many people. In swaths, right? I don't care what fucking porn you're watching. I don't care where you're watching it, but I do care. Well, that's not true. I don't care what you're watching. I care where you're watching it. Right.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So if I'm selling, I don't know, say I work for Adam and Eve or something, and I want to sell someone something specific, I'll be able to put it on Pornhub or YouPorn or whatever.
Yeah.
That's a really weird example, but that's what came to mind.
So it's more websites, not necessarily devices or anything like that?
Yes and no. Mobile obviously is king at the moment.
Sure, yeah.
And so it depends on what system you're using. So if I'm doing a Google search or Google Display, I'm focusing primarily on mobile. And then I have to sort of tweak the demo internationally, because for some reason there are a few Indian and I think Saudi Arabian or there's a really interesting app, and I forget what it's called, but it eats through my ad revenue, and it's on mobile. So there are little changes I have to make depending on the system I'm using. And then for Instagram, obviously it's all mobile, and so I don't really have to worry about it, but I do have to worry about is this a carousel ad? Is this a single image ad? Is this a whatever? And then am I interacting with influencers? You should see my face. Influencers are fabulous, but I also worry for their psychological safety.
I can imagine.
And wellness.
Yeah, me too.
I hope everyone's okay, which is like, I don't have TikTok for this reason. That algorithm is evil. Evil.
Yeah.
Evil.
Why do you think, do you think it's because it's so, is it because it, has no, is it not regulated, or it has no, it's an ethical boundaries thing, or?
Yes, it's sort of the premier rabbit hole algorithm. So it will find your niche and then push you down farther into that funnel. Right, which will keep you on the app, right? But if you're maybe a centrist who likes the police because your best friend's a police officer, you're gonna end up radicalized in 6 months.
Right.
You know, it gets worse and worse just to keep your eyes on the app. Which is the reason I moved out of corporate. Not because of TikTok, but because of this concept. I wanted to be able to market something I believed in, so when people interacted with the ad, I didn't feel like I was selling them something they didn't need or didn't want. And so now I work for a university, and I sell education, which, again, ethically debatable. I don't like the fact that education is for sale, but it's better than, they asked me to do a pharma client, and that's why I left.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very different package.
I was like, I'm not selling drugs for you, dude.
Yeah, I did this super weird thing where I have a thyroid condition which gave me something called thyroid eye disease, which is considered a rare disease. And I ended up getting in contact with these people working for a pharmaceutical company that specifically develop and market treatments for rare diseases. And they did this study thing where they flew a bunch of us out to this hotel in Arizona or something to do all this market research.
Oh, you were a focus group.
I was literally in a disease pharmaceutical focus group, and I didn't even understand that because I thought it was like a meetup where they give you money or something. I didn't even know what the fuck I was doing.
But an adventure?
Yeah, it ended up being so weird because I ended up being in an online ad for this company's
I'm so sorry.
It was okay.
Did you sign something?
Yeah, I completely signed.
Long as
they gave me $200, and I went and I just ended up in a bunch of medicine ads or something.
Not enough money.
It was such a strange experience.
That is so bizarre, though.
And they took a ton of stock photo headshots of me that I still have. I use them every once in a while for various things.
You should. They're hilarious. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I have one of me just smiling, pretending to type into a laptop, and one of me on its phone,
wow,
smiling.
A model.
Yeah, but very stock photo. They were very.
That's what you want, though.
It was so. Yeah. It was quite a trip. They paid for all my travel and shit too, so it was it was very. Yeah, I don't know.
Times.
That's my only experience with the real marketing phantom world.
It's when people are bitchy about it, it is fully justified. And a lot of the time when I talk to musicians a lot, we talk about this, which is the one thing that TikTok especially will do, and this I think goes for art and Instagram, is what people tell you is content upload schedule, just fucking don't. But also the rate at which people are creating work kind of gives everybody the same references because they see the same people creating the same work on the same schedules all of the time.
Yeah.
And so then everyone has the same references, and their art slowly becomes homogenized. So you have this group of people often in the same demographic making work that's not necessarily derivative, but is all kind of coming from this clump of people they've seen a lot. And which is why it's obviously super important to pursue things that are not on the internet, to keep your references wide open, and and music and all that kind of crap. Not crap, but it's extremely frightening. I see it a lot in young artists and young musicians.
Yeah.
You see a lot of one girl and a guitar singing the same song over and over.
Yeah.
And it worries me, not because I don't think they're sincere. I do think they're sincere, but I think that they don't branch out, and that's through no fault of their own. They wouldn't know to do that.
Yeah.
When we were growing up, I don't know, I think I'm a little older than you guys, but when we were growing up, we'd go to the music store and pick out CDs that we liked.
Yeah.
Maybe the covers of or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we'd have a different CD collection from everybody else. And then our music would sound different, which is important. But you don't get that on the internet because people like me are marketing and pushing people down a demographic-based funnel.
Yeah. And even that, like, when I was a younger artist, like, first learning to draw, or, like, when I was in high school and stuff, I used to get a lot of reference images from Tumblr, which even that was such a different process than now. Like, I've had to kind of stop getting reference images from, like, Instagram or online that I'm using, where I used to bookmark them as I would go about my day and be like, oh, that's a cool picture. Like, maybe I'll use that as an inspiration for something later. But you can't do that now with, like, I mean, TikTok is video, but TikTok or Instagram, because it's all the same images all the time. Like, I'll see pictures that I saw on Tumblr 10 years ago reposted here, like, in the same 10 accounts, my For You page is all the same picture, if I'm looking for sources, because it is all stuff that's, like, something that I would like, you know?
Right.
Like, I've seen that in my own work. I've had to manually override that by, like, using references from somewhere else, or, like, taking my own, which I should do anyway, but...
Right.
Yeah, I resonate with that a lot.
Tumblr's interesting, though, because it is one of the few platforms, maybe the holdout, I don't know. I haven't done a ton of research into international systems, but you do more manually, like, create your own algorithm in a way. Like, you're curating your own experience on Tumblr for the most part. If you never touch the, like, Explore tab, it's all what you have sought out.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is, I think, better. But... yeah, I don't know. I don't have a lot of hope for a lot of these social media systems anyway, because we watched with Twitter tank because of one man. If that can happen, I don't even have hope for, like, fucking Spotify or Netflix.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I've been, like, a paranoid, crazy person backing up all of my stuff on hard drives.
Oh, wow.
So if you want to get cyber secure and paranoid,
Yeah, the only stuff I do actually back up on hard drives is like my own, like I have like a lot of my art backed up and all of my audio that I've ever created, like the entire podcast or all my music that I've made is all backed up on a hard drive.
Do you think we're gonna get taken down because they're playing?
No, that's okay. I'll be able to make this audio sound better.
Without music in the background?
Yeah, it'll be okay.
Okay.
It'll be okay.
All right. I trust you.
Don't worry about it.
you ever want to have another conversation too? Zoom works too.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
Totally.
I mean, too, and like in terms of the use of this audio too, I've actually been using a lot of AI shit too, so I actually might be able to just remove the background audio completely.
Oh, sweet.
I could
Okay.
probably isolate our voices.
Nice.
That would be
weird.
cool.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see.
And in terms of your notes, you could just have this audio.
Yeah.
I-
That would be
Good.
stellar.
Yeah,
I
totally.
do send it. I send it to a really, and I haven't looked into them because I don't want to find out the ethics of the background of this. But there's a great transcription service that I
cool.
use.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, I don't want to know anything about them though.
Right,
because
if they
it's-
just sell all of the data.
because it's a little too good.
Yeah.
So I'm like, is this a person? And also, it's a little too cheap.
Yeah.
And it's
Interesting.
and I'm sure they're keeping my shit, which is fine. I don't know.
Who does?
You know what I've always wondered about transcribing stuff? When it's an audio with multiple people, how do you look at that transcription and know for sure which person said which part of it? Does it have a way of chunking that out?
Yeah, I don't know what it does, but
Does it just do like person one, person
speaker
two?
one, speaker two,
Really?
and it'll recognize the voices.
You'll have to send me what that is because I want
Yeah.
to use it for our shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
seriously.
That
great.
sounds awesome.
I mean, I used to transcribe by hand, like not this, but previous projects, and it is nightmarish.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you have someone talking like at a clip. Do you know he's kind of a dick in person too? Oh shit! I probably shouldn't say that. Anyway, he's fine, and there's this guy Simon Amstel. He's like a famous British comedian. He talks so fast.
Yeah.
I did an interview with him, and transcribing that was just so bad.
Yeah.
It was me in 2014 sitting at a computer, like slowly,
Like manually going over
yeah.
everything.
yeah, trying to and also he's so British.
Right.
And at the time I have no idea how old I was. 19. I'm 30, so I have no idea if that's the right age. Maybe less than that or older.
Oh, how old you were?
Yeah, in 2014.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, 20. Must have been 20 because of math.
Right. I'm 28 right now. Or I'll be
No, you're
28
not.
in like a week. I'm lying. I'll be 28 next week.
Well, I knew that about you because I listened to your last episode.
Oh, okay,
Can we
cool.
talk about it? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
you were saying that, like, if I'm remembering right, you were saying that you're, like, entering your mid-20s or late 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm officially out of my mid-20s. Like, I think 26 or 27, you can be like, oh, I'm in my mid... Like, you can kind of fudge being in your mid-20s.
Yeah.
But I feel like now I officially can.
Yeah.
Now it's over. No more lying about that.
Welcome to the danger zone.
I'm there.
Your knees will give out soon.
I fucking hope not.
No, I'm
but-
kidding. My knees are fine.
So how long have you been interviewing people?
For this project, a few months. I don't do a ton. I like to be the one who does interviews.
Yeah.
I have a few people who pop in and write occasionally. And for a while, we were doing a print magazine, but it was pretty much just me. And I have 2 issues of it, but it's just like it was so much work,
Yeah.
even though it was like just like zine level pamphlet stuff. I've been interviewing people though, like on and off for jobs and stuff since that internship, 2013, because I was writing for a defunct magazine at the time called I don't know, Boston something. It was during my undergrad.
Yeah.
And they had a partnership with one of the theaters around here, so when the acts came in, occasionally they would let me interview people.
Yeah.
And that was really fun.
That's cool.
Yeah. So.
And the project right now, is it like a digital media thing, or is it like it's a written journal?
No,
Or-
it's so this is what I was supposed to explain to you and completely got distracted with my like sermon on digital media, and it's gonna come back there at some point, I'm sure. I'm gonna question about it just to yell about it.
Hell yeah.
I was sort of desperate for analog media in the early summer, like maybe, well, I guess spring, so around March is when I started this stuff.
Yeah.
I was sort of desperate for like, this was the time where I sort of broke up with my computer a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to do.
Yeah. Every so often you need to like take a break. I mean, it's in my bag. I use it I'm on it 8 hours a day for work.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And even on my phone, I've got like, I mean, a lot of people have multiple accounts for Instagram, but I have client accounts on all of my social media.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for clients and stuff like that. So I just sort of needed a project that was sort of arty and writing that was not on the computer at all. So anything you see on the Instagram or on the site that's an image was cut up with fucking scissors and put together like little magazine clippings
That's cool.
for fun.
Yeah.
Usually me, and I just scan them with my shitty HP printer and put them on the internet as like the whatever. But I mean, I'm a writer by trade, and so that's where most of the focus is. I used to do, like, I guess the idea after really wanting analog media came to me because I used to write for a music magazine. It's called Infectious Magazine. I don't know if they still exist, but I was given like the experimental albums and they would be like, review this. And I would be like, I don't know anything about industrial music. Sick. And then I would have to learn about industrial music. And those articles are not great, but but the music was really fun. And then when I got out here again and really like settled my life down back in Boston, I wanted to do more music writing.
Yeah.
And outside of Boston Hassel, I didn't see a ton of opportunity for that.
Yeah.
And so I just decided, well, shit. I'm old, and I am at the age where I am an authority figure.
Yeah.
Not really,
Yeah.
but you know what I
You
mean.
can like claim it though.
Yeah, like if I want to. It
Your
took me a while.
credibility
Yeah.
and your work.
Yeah, it took me a while to get to the point where I'm like, I think I can own this, and I think that if I have people who want to help, I can like help manage them or whatever. And it's just at this point a creative endeavor that we're wiggling around trying new ideas and talking to artists and musicians. And I'm actually I'm trying to talk to venues too, to talk to them. I talked to I Book Things, that booking agent who's lovely out here. Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
They're called I Book Things?
I Book Things.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, the cat is the CEO.
Straightforward.
It's
Yeah.
incredible. You gotta go check them out. They're
Hell
so
yeah.
funny. But yeah, like I'm hopefully gonna get in touch with the Armory. I'm in touch with Democracy Center shows.
Okay. Yeah, they're cool. Do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so I just like, I'm trying to document in some ways like the art scene, not necessarily like a niche. I'm sure it'll fall into something.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens. It happens with, you know, creative writing stuff. It happens with work stuff. It happens with books.
Yeah.
It'll settle at some point. But I love fine art. I was listening to like a couple episodes ago. You guys mentioned Talk Art.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're cool.
Yeah, I
Info.
listened to them. You know that he's also rough around the edges, but Jerry Salt's that.
yeah, totally.
Yeah. He's real nice. Nice
Yeah.
man. Insane though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has a lot of inspiring and fun points, but I think that he may not like be. Like, I think that if you were an artist and you just based all of your moves and perspectives on Jerry Salt's, you'd probably be miserable.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
you'd want to die. But he is like such a New England dude.
Yeah, he's like he's fun. Like I think
Yeah.
he's like, yeah. If you like engage with his content and writing every once in a while,
Yeah, exactly.
Jerry Salt's in moderation.
in moderation.
He's heavy on the sex posts on Instagram too.
He
Just
posts
little bit.
he's a weird poster.
a little weird.
Yeah.
He's so weird, but he is an old man.
Yeah.
And so,
It's like being friends with an inspiring but odd family member on Facebook.
oh my
You're
god.
just like, oh, I don't want to see most of what you're posting.
Yeah.
But sometimes you post something really cool.
My aunt's a nun, so I feel that.
Oh wow.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Catholicism runs deep.
Is she a nun in Boston?
No, she's a nun
Oh, okay.
in Wisconsin.
Oh, I see. Okay.
When I was living out there, I saw her a lot. She paints Victorian dolls.
Wow.
She sounds like an interesting person.
She is so much, but I love her dearly. We have had a 7-year-long handwritten letter
Aw.
exchange.
That's
love
so
that.
cool.
I think she's forgotten she has other relatives, though. It's just me.
Oh, that's so sweet. What a beautiful relationship to have.
That's cool.
She's occasionally will go hard on Jesus, obviously.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
But most of the time she's chill. She
Yeah.
also sent me the Tao Te Ching.
I'm not familiar. A book?
It's like an Eastern religion.
Oh.
A book. It's. You'd have to look into it more. I don't want to call it a religion unless, because people will get mad at me if I do.
It's
Yeah.
a bit,
It's
it's a
more
bit of
like
a controversial thing to talk about.
Not necessarily. It's more like an exploration of how energy moves. I don't know. Look
Okay.
it up, read it. It's great.
Cool.
It might be inspiring to you. You might hate it.
No idea. I think
But I might
spiritual
hate it.
stuff's pretty cool. I mean, we endlessly talk about random spiritual things here, and I think we probably interviewed religious folks at some point or another. Have we? I have no idea, actually.
Yeah.
I forget. Anyway. But yeah, no, that's really cool. In terms of like eccentric old people, though, we seem to be specializing in that on the podcast.
It's so true.
We've interviewed a lot of, like, we love everyone we've interviewed, but we've interviewed a lot of just like crazy old artists.
I love that you first of all, every episode, you guys, usually will be like, I love old people. You do.
We love old people.
Yeah, it's so funny because you'll usually be like, well, older artists, and then you'll be like, I love old people, and then continue your thought. It's so funny.
I didn't know that.
It's true. I mean, they're great.
And you know what? We have them for a limited time, and then we'll become the old people. I'm just saying, like, if we don't, I don't know, there will probably come a time where people in our age group, we're all in our 60s or whatever, we won't feel like old people,
But we'll be the
but
weird
we'll
old
miss
people.
all the old people that were there when we weren't old people.
That's true.
And we won't know who to turn to, because we'll be stupid old people.
I don't know about stupid. No, I'm kidding.
The old
Probably.
people won't be there to help us, so
Yeah.
You
we
know
gotta
that-
soak it all up, you know?
That's
while
true.
we can.
You know that rumor about Agnes Martin, how she hadn't read a newspaper in like 80 years?
I don't know who that is.
That's what I want in my life.
Okay.
It's the goal.
She's an artist who does just really minimalistic paintings with I don't know, graphite and also paint sometimes. I don't know.
Oh,
She's
cool.
great.
Yeah.
She's great. Very much like a old school Anne Truitt sort of lady. Anyway, she like built her own Adobe house in like Arizona
wow.
or something. Yeah.
That's
Please fact check me on this later. But she like hadn't read a newspaper in like 80 years, living her best life in this house that she made herself.
Yeah.
Speaking to no one. And I was
That has
like,
nothing to do with me. The rest of the world, not my business.
yeah, I love that.
That's great.
Except like, you know, I think it's because I engage with people and brains so much.
Yeah.
That the idea is like
a
a
rest.
space.
Yeah.
Yeah. And going back to digital marketing a little bit, I was curious, like, when you are working in that field, do you ever do people in your position find themselves, like, working with, like, oh, like, this person's really stood out working with food brands. Let's put them on the food shit. Or, like, oh, this is, like, our athletic person or something. Like, do you find yourself marketing, like, the same shit over and over again because of experience?
In agency sometimes, like there are clients who will refer other clients of the same industry to an agency because they know that they excel in that industry.
Yeah.
Like I used to work for an agency. This is so, you know, whatever. They're lovely, but they were HVAC, like really like not exciting stuff, but they were very good at what they did. And so they had a bunch of really impressive clients, some of the biggest in the business, whose names the public consciousness does not know who they are.
Yeah.
Right, but the HVAC world.
The HVAC
Must know
world.
there, yeah.
Yeah. And then another agency I worked at was, marketing for AAA.
Yeah.
And they did some insurance stuff, but then they were the ones who were like, let's introduce pharma here.
Oh, at AAA. That's interesting.
Yeah. Insurance.
Oh, yeah.
They all kind of touch one another. Yeah. And it was like 8 white guys in a room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to tell me what to do.
Not fun.
No. They're lovely dudes. They just don't know that they're misogynists. You know?
Common.
Happens to guys a lot.
Yeah,
And then when
right?
you tell them, they're like, oh no.
Like, what?
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. Do you find that the digital marketing world ever collides with, like, this new, like, influencer, like, hyper-individualist, self-marketing, self-branding stuff? Like, do you
Yeah.
ever get, like, because I imagine that the world of marketing objects and products and things is very, like, data-driven or very, like, I don't know anything about it, but it seems like the idea of somebody wanting to go out and market themselves or get a team to market them seems very, like, almost esoteric and like weird. Like,
Yeah.
how do you think those two things relate to each other, or if they do?
Well, brands combat this by becoming individuals, right? That like sort of, that silence brand meme, like Denny's being funny,
Yeah.
like Wendy's being
Right,
funny.
or Duolingo being
Yeah.
a psychopath. Right.
Yeah. I've been watching their strategy. It's very funny.
Yeah.
They're taking risks.
Yeah, they really are.
There's a marriage with Scrub Daddy.
With Duolingo?
Yeah, between the Duolingo
Okay.
owl and Scrub Daddy, the sponge.
All right.
Duolingo gave birth the owl. I just want you to know that.
I love it.
It's a good strategy.
I heard about an ad. Wasn't there like a big popular ad like a few years ago where they had Mr. Peanut die?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
I think I remember that.
I think like Mr. Peanut died and they like did an in memoriam thing or something in a Super Bowl ad.
Oh.
Is he back now?
I don't know. Anyway,
What happened to him?
yeah. Sorry to sidetrack.
It's okay. I want to know what happened to the peanut as well.
Mr.
I
Peanut
don't-
died.
No clue.
I'm sure he's fine somewhere.
Yeah, they brought him back.
It's funny because marketing, people think it runs on narrative, right? It does run on numbers at the end of the day, but the individualistic aspect is sort of reclaiming the narrative in marketing. For a while, it was very like, if you've ever watched Mad Men, unfortunately, it's still kind of like that.
Yeah, we've watched the whole thing.
Okay, stellar.
Yeah.
Stellar. So you know how they do the like, let's tell a story thing
Right.
Yeah.
on all their campaigns? For us, it's more like, let's discover the story that the numbers are telling us, and then we'll base the narrative off of that.
Yeah.
Because often a brand is wrong about the story they think they're telling.
Interesting.
They're often way off. But the way like individuals market themselves, like brands are simply collaborating as other individuals by giving people shit, by like, you know, I saw this ad with somebody like with a product in their car, got in a car accident, and then like the guy from the president of the company is like, we're gonna help you get a new car.
Yeah.
And he's just being nice, and he's obviously a sweet man.
Yeah.
But it's a great tactic to appear human and like an individual while on a brand account.
Yeah.
And so this is one of the reasons I worry for influencers is because I think that they see the productivity of these accounts and think like, oh, I need to match.
Yeah.
But there's a team. Like, there's
not
a
one
team
person.
behind there. Yeah, like Duolingo's got like 3 camera operators.
Yeah.
And legal.
Yeah. As somebody working in that profession, what is your just flash opinion of Gary Vee?
I don't know who that is.
You really? Are you serious?
I do not go on the internet unless I have to.
Wow, that's crazy. Good for you.
Yeah.
He's like...
Don't even look him up.
Well, he's...
I want to know. I want to know that.
He's like one of the...
If he's in the zeitgeist, I need to know.
He's in the zeitgeist for sure. But
Oh, God.
He's definitely like... So he is the head of a big ad agency in New York City, like, and he's a YouTuber also.
Oh.
He's one of the biggest, since like the early 2010s. You could say he's been one of the biggest proponents of grind set, hustle, self-starter, entrepreneur shit.
Okay.
Yeah, so
He's
I don't
in the
know.
manosphere, but like on the fringes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that wouldn't be wrong.
No.
It's probably not wrong, actually. Yeah.
That demographic scares the living shit out of me.
Yeah.
13-year-old teenage boys. Holy shit.
That like just want to do bad stuff because it's exciting.
And start
Yeah.
a business also.
Yeah, drop shipping, kill people.
Yep.
Bugatti.
Well,
Drop shipping in a Bugatti.
they say a slur in Minecraft, and then like their whole algorithm hears them, and it's like, well, fuck. Now we're gonna be like parroting Andrew Tate shit, just because he's like kind of an idiot in Minecraft once.
Have you ever had a brand be like, hey, can we like be like those guys? Can we do some like fucked up shit?
Manosphere
online?
shit?
Yeah.
No, I've had people, and I'm not going to name names obviously, but I've had people ask me to do unethical things. Like there's one thing. It's not illegal in the United States. Illegal in the EU.
Oh no.
Yeah.
There's something bad.
No, it's not terrible. It's something that already happens, but people just don't talk about it. It's like the buying and selling of data, but a little bit more intense.
Yeah.
Like the Cambridge Analytica shit?
Yes.
Huh.
That
Okay.
stuff. A lot of the stuff they did was not illegal in the United States.
Yeah.
It's just like they just went too hard at the end of the day. But watching all of their shit, I was really uncomfortable. So I'm like, I participate in this.
Right.
I was in corporate at the time.
Yeah.
I'm kind of confused how that works. Like, so let's say there's some weird website that's collecting emails and, I don't know, like scrubbing data from people who visit their site. Like someone who's going to sell information.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how they get it, but let's say they have a bunch of data and they're going to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who are they selling it to, and then what does that person do? What even happens with it?
Oh, that's an easy answer. How many texts have you gotten about voting?
Probably a lot, actually. I get voting texts often.
Yeah.
So those people bought information?
Oh yeah, they bought your phone number.
My phone number, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some amazing, like, don't do this. It's illegal. But if you, and I have, for legal reasons, never seen any of this stuff play out in real life ever. That never happened at all. Anyway, if you go on like the Tor browser and like really dig into the dark internet, don't do it. First of all, you won't see anything weird as long as like you stay topside.
It's unadvisable.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Like, don't try and anyway.
Noted.
I can tell you about that off the air. But one thing that like that whole realm is used for is the buying and selling of like consumer data.
Yeah.
And the most important stuff is obviously like emails and phone numbers, and names, full names. But my least favorite thing is like in marketing is that email marketing works, unfortunately. I believe if you're our age, you kind of just delete the email and continue on with your life. But for some reason, the analytics on it, as far as like a genre of marketing goes, are pretty dope. And so I have to do so much of it. I hate emails. Anyway.
Yeah.
I am supposed to be interviewing you guys, but I did want to talk about
This is interesting, though.
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you guys about it is because I know that both of you guys are struggling with like scheduling, like content creation, not scheduling it, but like keeping it up and staying earnest and staying engaged with yourself and your art. And all of that stuff. And I think you said that when you started like pumping out content, views went down, and when you sort of got like pulled back and started re-engaging with like the underlying like foundations of your artwork inside or whatever, things started to pick up again. And I think that that's something that people don't cherish enough, is that earnestness and that trueness.
Yeah.
Because it does translate on the internet. It just takes longer, and it like requires a different kind of stamina. It requires a commitment to uploading it and also creating something that you're proud of.
Yeah.
Which is very different from churning out the same piece because it will sell.
Yeah.
You know? So it's the worst way to try and make money because you won't for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's what gives people staying power on the internet in the end.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot to say about that. But like one thing, for example, in terms of like output versus in terms of quality control and how much you're putting out, like imagine if a musician, decided I'm gonna put out a song a day on my TikTok, and that's gonna like really blow. I'm gonna write a song every day and post it. They would not only go insane after like a week or two, but they would also, as that time went on, be creating more and more derivative and bad shit. Because they would be they would go, maybe if they did that for a month, at the end of the month they would just have 30 awful songs and a whole giant digital portfolio of bad content, versus there's a lot of musicians that promote themselves by doing a song of the month. That's really common, and that's ample time for somebody who produces their own music and writes to create and produce and make something and put it out.
Yes,
it's a very and it's a very reasonable and real strategy that a lot of people do. But like, I just think there's a lot of people, especially with like, you didn't know who Gary Vee was, but like he is a big proponent of trying to teach people how to market themselves as influencers. Like he's like trying to teach people how to be influencers. Yeah. And one thing he says is like post every day, post 10 times a day, post every day, all day, every day. And it's just like, I think what that does to people is people just learn how to make tons of bad stuff.
Yeah.
Like I make tons of stuff and it all sucks. Like I could make 100 paintings a day easily, but they wouldn't be good paintings.
Yeah.
I don't know. So maybe there's somebody out there that's the complete opposite and they can make 100 masterpieces a fucking hour. But like,
well, the other thing too is like advice that would be applicable to a lifestyle influencer isn't the same. Like, I don't know, there are people that are famous on TikTok for taking videos of them just like talking off the cup from their bed. That's not the same as doing an oil painting. You know what I mean? And that, I also don't think that's advisable, but I mean, that's more easy to just rip off than it is, like to rip a bunch of them off and post them all than it is to make like 10 paintings in a day. Like that's not advice for painters,
Yeah, I don't know, man. And like, I feel like there's a few other things you said that I wanted to touch on that I completely forgot.
It's so funny because we actually recorded a whole episode talking about this last night. We didn't
really?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
It's very topical.
No, it's like, I don't know.
It's just us complaining about how it sucks, basically.
It's fair, because it does. Yeah. It absolutely does. I think when people don't, they kind of take for granted, like, this is going to be so annoying and old lady, but like there is a niche that you can fill and only you can fill it. You simply need to find it.
Yeah.
And it will resonate with you. But it sometimes will take a very long time to find.
Yeah.
There's this guy on YouTube, and I forget his name, but I follow him, and he does do a song a day, but it's him, he's like 80, sitting with his guitar, recording on a laptop, playing a cover of like a old song as this older man, and then when he does write originals, they're gorgeous, and he puts them out, but people will put on his like content or whatever and just listen to him as a playlist.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is such a lovely concept, and he's very clearly it's his practice time.
Yeah.
And it's so simple, but it works because that is who he is. He's an old man in a room.
Yeah, that kind of brings up another thing that I was thinking while you were talking, is that another thing that happens when people are making content that I think that makes people successful is that they like to make content.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of dialogue with artists about like, make art, don't make content, like put your heart and soul to it, don't just make content. But on the other side of that point, there's a lot of people that just legitimately love to make content.
Yeah.
Like to make just some short, weird, fun thing that makes people laugh, or some like, oh, like here's 5 restaurants in Boston to visit. Yeah. Like not all of that is soulless. There's some people that just for some reason like to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not,
Yelp reviewers exist for a reason.
And they fucking love Yelp.
Yeah.
And they're writing them all day.
They're going for it, and it's amazing.
That'd be a funny person to interview.
Just a prolific
Yelp user. Yeah.
It probably would be, actually.
Email like Sandra T, and be like, hey girl.
Yeah. They probably jump on it because they probably love being heard and putting shit out there and making a reaction or something.
That's actually a sick idea, and I want to do it.
We could try.
There's a great community of quilters on Instagram.
Ooh.
You should talk to some like craftspeople.
Yeah.
Because they're wild.
Yeah.
They're wild, and I love them so much. But you're right. There are some people who just enjoy creating content as a medium or as the product.
Yeah. Like I think our podcast exists because we like to do it.
Yeah.
If we just like loathed it and wanted to die every time we had to do it, which is sometimes, or we just hated interviewing people, we wouldn't be doing it. Because we don't make any money. The only thing we get out of this is personal fulfillment. You know what I mean?
I talked to another podcaster who does a very different thing than you do. She does a punk podcast where she'll get punk bands to send her their single or whatever, and it's like 4 dudes in a skate park. Like they're never that great.
Gotcha.
But they're fucking fun to listen to sometimes, and she's all about it.
And she like breaks it down and talks about the single and reviews it basically.
Kinda, and she's very, very, very funny too.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a really cool concept.
Is she Boston based?
Well, just outside of Boston.
Cool.
Yeah. She's very funny. Her name's Alenka. Is it? Yes.
What's the show called?
No, it's not. Her name is Izzy.
Oh, yeah.
It's called Never Mind the Buzzcocks. It's a very funny show.
Let's check it out.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
They make me laugh so much. I like to collect these 5-inch, like, single press punk vinyls.
Yeah.
Really?
And they're so bad. There was this one produced by a guy who was called Mr. P Blood.
Mr. P Blood.
Like, they're just like bad punk bro garbage, and they are so funny to listen to.
That's great.
Yeah, I love them. It's so stupid. My favorite song on Spotify is called Rat Bastard by the Sunbird Coyotes. It's 3 17-year-old boys in a garage who have heard one punk song yelling at each other.
I love that.
It's the funniest thing I've heard in my entire
Really good
life.
band name, Sunburned Coyote.
I know.
Yeah.
That's some nice imagery.
Yeah.
Just feels pretty good. Yeah.
Some poeticism there.
Yeah. There's this band from Maine who's actually like really good. They're called Fat Randy. If you're into jazz fusion, but they're all professionals, and there's like 70 monthly listeners. I'm really hoping they'll blow up.
Yeah.
And they sell pickles as merch.
That's so funny.
Wow.
Incredible.
So is somebody in the band like literally make pickles?
I have no idea.
Somehow?
They must.
Just pick them up and stop.
Just like what do you call that? A pickler? A Picklist?
Canner?
Pickler.
Anyway.
Anywho, because all of the riffs on that are really gross.
Right, that's true.
That's very funny. I did want to talk about. Okay, this just popped into my brain, so I want to mention it. Your guys' like the way you talk to each other is, first of all, so cute.
Oh, thanks.
So sweet and so cute. Like, you can tell you guys are like best friends, but also like love each other.
Oh,
and it's
that's
just
so nice.
You're welcome. It's just like such a lovely dynamic. Just like half of the reason the podcast is as good as it is like you feel like you guys, even if you don't want to be there, you want to be with each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is like half the battle.
Yeah,
That's true.
I'm glad we're not just like bitching all the time, because it feels like that
Only sometimes. Yeah.
It's like fighting on the air.
Well, even that, you guys, if you ever have like if you ever disagree and there ever gets to be like a little bit of tension, there's like, one of you will be like, you know what, that was me and I love it very much. It's so funny and I love it so much.
Oh man,
It's so cute.
That's been an art.
That's awesome.
That's something we've gotten better at, I think. It's so weird having like intense emotional conversations while you're recording it, also with someone you're dating. Like when we first started doing the podcast, I think there were times that we would sometimes like argue and just be like, all right, we have to stop recording and figure this out. Like this is off the chain.
I think it makes you communicate better sometimes, though.
It does.
Yeah.
Because like it's like if you're talking in public and you know that maybe someone might hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
you like behave better and you're more thoughtful and maybe even more articulate if you know someone's listening to you.
Yeah.
Versus,
I sound like garbage usually.
Yeah, same.
but like recording, you like start to actually really weigh your words.
Yeah.
So it can actually, I think, create more meaningful and clearer communication
That's true.
between us.
I agree.
Not just for the show, but for between us.
You guys have a very healthy communication style.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I've been to a lot of therapy, so that's what I
cool.
noticed.
Oh yeah, cool.
Look at them, going for it. I love it. Great attachment, great communication. They got this.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's nice. That's so rewarding.
You're welcome. I'm surprised no one has said that to you before.
I feel
I
like a
don't know.
lot of people that we know just don't listen to our podcast also.
Yeah, maybe. And if they do, they don't tell us.
Yeah. This is actually,
Shout
I
out to
think-
anybody who listens that we know. We love
Love
you.
you guys. It's always such a like shock and surprise. Like somebody would be like,
That's
"Oh, I heard
true.
you say this." We're like, "Oh my god, really?
Oh shit!
What did I say? I don't remember."
Stop listening.
That happened to me once. I used to be in a band, and I saw this random dude. I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
Random dude at a party came up to me and was like, "Are you from this band?" I was like,
What the fuck?
he's like, get away from me, demon. And he like repeated back a couple lyrics to me, and I'm like, I have to leave.
Yeah.
He's a good, like, an actual fan, and I was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Then I moved. So, sorry guys.
Do you do music right now?
I do a lot of music.
Are you a songwriter?
I would, yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
I guess
Nice.
so. Like, I've been really lazy. I'm trying not to do anything I'm trying to do everything for me only.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and so the things I'm writing are just fucking chill, you know?
Good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, right? Like, I'm not trying super hard, like, vocally. I'm just having a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got. I mean, music that feels like it was made with love and for the artist is like can be like even better to listen to than something like really highly tailored and
Yeah.
I don't know.
I hate production.
Really.
I hate it so much. I will, like a narcissist, listen to my own demos from my voice memo.
Yeah.
I hate production so much. I have an entire album that I wrote 2 years ago that I never produced because I hate it so much. Like, the album's all right. Production sucks.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
I was listening to you talk about the Vocaloid thing. Are you still into it?
Yeah, I'm like 18 songs deep
Jesus
on
Christ.
the production.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier. So I've been an acoustic artist for a million years, but this album has the least amount of guitar I've ever put on an album. Like there's probably maybe half the songs have a guitar, and none of them are primarily guitar. So, which means that it's actually a lot easier to record because it's all digital instruments and programmed instruments and MIDI and shit.
Yeah.
So I don't have to mic anything. The only thing I have to mic is my voice or the guitar sometimes if I'm using a guitar. So it actually, because I suck at producing. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. I just have like a USB mic in GarageBand.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not like a producer. I don't know how to EQ, whatever. But like, it's a lot easier to do because it, like I said, it's all just playing with a keyboard.
Yeah.
And like the typing keyboard, not a real keyboard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like
Wanna
my
borrow
MIDI
one, let me know.
controller is the
It's like a half, like an octave.
no, it's the fucking the keyboard. I'm using the MIDI controller as my keys.
Oh.
Spacebar, ABC keys.
Oh, okay. So it's not even like an octave and a half.
No, it's like you know how there's video game controllers on a laptop.
Yeah.
Where you just figure out what buttons are the controller.
Yeah.
It's like that but with a piano.
I've seen that before, and it sounds hard. So congratulations.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm pretty used to the way I've gotten incredibly used to doing it in a very stupid way. So that's why it works for me. Actually.
Necessity is the mother of invention, or whatever people say.
That's true. Yeah.
The best art, in my opinion, well, not the best, but a lot of great art comes with a prompt and some restrictions.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah, people thrive when the pressure's on. Sometimes, not everybody, but
I try to.
Sometimes people do.
I have a embarrassment of riches as far as like this art bullshit goes in my house, and so right now I'm not allowed to buy anything.
Okay, cool.
Or like get anything from the outside except for like flyers that are sent to me through the mail.
Yeah.
Like bullshit stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'm having a good time. Again, simply for myself.
Yeah. That's good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's crazy because I feel like the hardest lesson that I've dealt with art-wise so far in my career is like just making stuff for me, end of sentence. Like not doing anything about like not worrying while I'm making it about marketing it, who's gonna like it, like whether or not I'm doing it correctly, like just playing with the material and enjoying the process, and then whatever comes after that comes. It's like
I've been loving your
so
like
hard.
gel
the
rolly
prints?
thingies. Yes.
Thank you.
I saw that you had this one post where I'm like, where you just were really proud of how good you had gotten at it.
Yeah, I was
And that
excited.
was the whole post was it was like really cool, and you're like, I'm just so happy that this happened.
And do you know how many failed prints I've made? It's been so stressful because it's like it takes. You roll it out and then press your image down, but you only get one shot with each one. You can't rip them twice because it like the way that it works, your paint gets saturated into it if you don't do it right. Mm-hmm. So you don't know whether or not, if you're using magazines, the image you use will even work, and then you have to lay it down for however long, do another layer of paint, let that dry, do another layer of paint, do whatever else you're doing. So it can take like an hour and a half to set it up, and then press it, wait 45 minutes, and then pull it. And sometimes it's just like a black square. You're like,
Oh
fuck.
no. Patience.
Yeah, I messed this up an hour ago and didn't even know.
You are a saint. But that post made me really happy. So I'm like, oh, this is for her. She's having a good time.
Yeah, I've been trying. It's like the stuff that I did when I first, I mean, not just when I first got into art, but like most of my art stuff has been like realism trained stuff. Like I started doing pen and ink and graphite, and then working realism into abstraction and kind of like layering collage stuff. So I have this sort of tendency to have some perfectionist angle to things, which I realized like a year and a half ago or so meant that I wasn't really using new mediums very often. Like when I was, it would be like I'd be, instead of just drawing, I'd be drawing and putting it into a zine or something, like adding a layer, but not anything that was like totally new. So I've been trying to do that more recently.
That's really exciting.
It is. It's fun. There's a lot of room for error though when you're not doing something you don't have experience with, which has been a comfort exercise, I guess.
I mean, learning as you go, I think, is the best way to learn, like, do something that no one else will be doing.
Yeah.
So that's very fun and exciting.
Yeah.
I would recommend, to get rid of perfectionist stuff, pick up a medium that's not at all related and then get really annoying about that. So I am a writer. And my visual art is stupid. That's the point.
Yeah.
You know what I think's the most frustrating thing about writing too is that like when you're working on a painting and you want to get like a bird's eye view of your progress, you can like maybe just walk to the other side of the room and look at the painting.
Yeah.
But to do that with writing, you have to read the whole thing.
Yeah.
You do.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
It takes so long.
First drafts too are so bad always.
And then you have to read the whole draft, right?
You do.
In a sense.
Yep.
And like, what if it was like a fucking 50,000 word manuscript?
I mean,
What are you just gonna read a whole book that
You are.
sucks that you wrote?
well,
That sounds like a nightmare.
It goes faster, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people are doing NaNoWriMo right now.
Yeah, I've done it like 4 times.
Yeah.
So-
So you know.
Yeah, I have completed like 3 or 4 drafts. The
Yeah.
one draft, and then I was like, I can't ever look at this again.
Yeah.
What the fuck am I gonna do with it? I'm never doing this again.
That's something about you that's so funny that I feel like nobody really knows about, is that you're just like an avid fiction writer and none of it has ever seen the light of day.
So we flipped. Like, I do the visual for bullshit reasons.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, that's
And
true.
you're having a good time.
Yeah, I like it. Was like a dream of mine as a kid to be a writer, but it's just like
Yeah.
it's fucking just so difficult and time consuming, and I do it every couple years.
You really have to like commit to doing. I do it like it's also my day job.
Yeah.
So I don't do it on the weekends because I learned very fast that if you try every day, you're gonna get burnt out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
True.
Yeah. But I'm currently trying to pick up fewer projects. The reason I mentioned it in our DMs, but
Yeah.
you know, I use a different name because I have scholarly work.
Yeah.
I'm working with my co-author on a paper who I have a master's in technical communication,
Oh,
which
cool.
dovetails with my digital life.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right? And I had written this thesis that he really liked, my thesis advisor, and so he was like, we should turn this into a paper.
Yeah.
And right now we are on the final stage. We are peer review went well. We are on
Cool.
our final draft of that, but I also have another paper out that's really boring and not at all exciting. And like half of it's a book review, but I keep getting cited by the kids.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's fun.
By the undergrads, and I'm like, because what I don't want is, I don't care if the kids know who I am. What I
Yeah.
don't want is their professors going to check their sources.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And finding my name and being like, but this is a journalist. I'm not a journalist, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I write about real things with other people, which people think is journalism.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
Interesting point.
Yeah.
I do that too for work reasons. Like I have obviously at work I use my legal last name, but I do the Theodore Earthworms thing so that if you Google my legal name, because I also changed my first name just for gender stuff, but
Cool.
if you Google what my job thinks my name is versus what my like art name is, completely different. It's like, this is my college stuff, this is like some stuff that I published, like work things, whatever, and then this is like all the other shit I'm doing, like this podcast.
Totally, yeah, totally get that. And just, I feel like a dick. Which pronouns do you both use?
I use kind of all of them.
Okay, cool.
She, they.
Cool.
Yeah, he is fine.
Cool.
Or like, I don't even know these days. I don't. Everything that I say, if I like decide something in my mind, I don't like how it reflects in my life. And then when things reflect back to me in my life, I don't like it in my mind.
I don't know what you
Are
I
you
think I'm
going through
just
something?
I just like, yeah.
Okay, everybody has a gender journey.
Yeah.
Mine is ongoing too. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fucking nightmare.
I think it's something that I saw. I think I saw it on fucking Tumblr or something.
Yeah.
Someone was talking about how their cis boyfriend said that he just doesn't believe that anyone's the same gender as anyone else. And I was like, that's incredible take. That's an incredible take from just a man.
Yeah.
Just a simple man.
Just a simple man
Just a Leonard Skinner simple man.
wearing a backwards hat. Backwards hat, simple man. And I was like, honestly, dope. So might as well go by everything. Who
Yeah.
cares?
Honestly. Oh my gosh.
We're sort of interviewing each other at the same time.
That works. That's fine.
If that's cool. At the end of the day, I'm gonna try and like rip all of my shit out and then construct a chronological, mostly order things. You'll see it beforehand.
Cool.
Yeah.
And don't worry about me looking at your notebook. I can't read it.
No, I know.
I just straight up no idea what it says.
I love this about my handwriting because I'm like writing a whole ass book in here right now.
Cool.
And nobody can read anything.
It's really pretty.
It's hieroglyphics. Oh, thanks.
That is interesting. Yeah, I really
it's like
can't read it.
script-like.
Yeah, but
I actually was wondering if you were using shorthand when I first looked.
it's half shorthand.
Yeah.
I was a copy editor, and so I use copy editing marks. Like this is with.
Right.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I found a bunch of antique photographs years ago that all of them had really long inscriptions on the back written completely in shorthand.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how I learned what shorthand was, because I was like, what the fuck are these? It was so
happening?
mysterious.
Yeah.
Like just these strange, weird scrawlings. And
I know,
is this a
like-
different language? Like, what the fuck do I have?
I
Anyway.
did like chicken scratch shorthand for being a waitress, but I don't think it's like real. It's just like
It might
a
be
few
real.
letters.
It might have been real at some point.
It's
There
like,
was a lot of
waitressing
like.
shorthand is a totally different thing, I think.
Well, there was a lot of like real published shorthand languages that people would learn.
That's what I mean. I don't think it's that. I think it was just me
Yeah,
at 16
yeah.
writing really fast, and it became
Right.
like my own version.
Yeah, you're right.
Love
You're
that.
right.
I recently wrote a memo thing to my boss and used like S/B,
Yeah.
which it should be to me.
What is that? SB?
No, I'll write it out for you. This is what it looks like, and it's an S and a /B,
Yeah.
which is should be.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you said an SB. That's what it should be. Like I didn't.
Yeah, I know. I mean, if somebody's writing
Like,
something
what?
and they make an error, I'll do should be, and then whatever it is.
Gotcha. Like correction note.
Yeah, and so I wrote something to my boss who is from academia, has no idea what I'm doing. I've been with her for 3 full years, and occasionally she'll still be like, Katie, you know that I don't know what this means.
Yeah.
Why do you keep doing it? And it's just from years of copy editing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. If you want to send me your book, I'll edit it for free. I'm doing my friend's book too.
Oh, nice.
You know what? Honestly, maybe you could cut into it or try to read my horrible chicken scratch bullshit.
Fun.
Is it handwritten?
No, but it's psychologically chicken scratch.
That's fair. That is fair and fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely would like to, I enjoy writing a lot, and I do I journal all the time, but
Yeah.
I think one day I will definitely write. I'll finish a book or two.
Are you sci-fi, like speculative fiction?
No, I've written.
Fantasy?
It's a lot of it. I have written I did one fantasy manuscript, but all of the rest of them. No, I kind of did too. The other rest of them are kind of like either just general like psychological realism or kind of magical realism kind
Nice.
of shit. But I did try fantasy one time, but it felt like I didn't know enough about like ancient England to make it convincing.
Oh, no.
So my fantasy just kind of felt stupid and flat, I feel like. Like I feel like maybe if I I don't know,
I liked
had
it.
like a master's in medieval history, I would have wrote a good book.
All those guys do, though. Like
Exactly.
Robert Johnson
Exactly.
did, and
Tolkien,
Tolkien
yeah.
did. Like Ursula Le Guin was a professor too, sci-fi.
It's the secret sauce of a lot of genre writing, I think, is having a background in some reality special. Anyway.
Yeah.
A lot of my stuff ends up as like cyberpunk-ish.
Really?
That's because I spend so much time in the digital space.
Oh.
Yeah. And I know what everything is called, and I know how it's integrating with people's psyches, and I'm just trying to extrapolate what's going to happen later.
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
right so far.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's been bad.
No, that's bad. I'm sorry.
Well, I'll tell people like, this is probably what's going to happen, and like I give it 3 years. 3 years, Mark comes up, and they're like,
Like, oh no.
yeah, yep, dark.
It's scary.
Yeah, can't wait till. I don't know if Elon will succeed in the Neuralink thing, but I think in pharma somehow it's gonna make a way of something neurological in pharma, because right now there's some really interesting epilepsy treatment stuff going on. I have epilepsy, so I know about it, but
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think all that shit's really, really cool when it comes to medical innovation. But like the shit that's just like, and I'm gonna be able to read minds and post from my eyeballs. Like that seems like a horrible application or direction.
Yeah.
But when it's like, oh, we could potentially like reconstruct someone's nervous system or repair someone's vision with this device, like that's sick.
Yeah.
I hope that happens in the world, but
One
also
thing
fuck Elon Musk.
Yeah, fuck Elon Musk. One thing that I was worried about for like glasses and like contacts and stuff is like, what if we found a way to like register pieces of clothing or whatever so they could play ads? Imagine being on the train and somebody's fucking t-shirt was playing an advertisement.
Yeah.
Because they got a deal on it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's true.
You know
It makes
what?
me want to die.
I watched this random like one-off Netflix series. I think it was with Emma Stone and Jonah Hill, unfortunately, but there was this really, it was like a sci-fi dystopian thing, but they had this whole section of like little B-plot thing that I think about a lot, which is people were able to sell their likenesses to ad companies
Oh yeah.
so that they became, which is becoming a very real reality,
That's
where
something that
voice
happens.
cloning or deep fake, like you could.
Didn't Kendall Jenner just do that? She sold her likeness.
You know who else did? Is Howie Mandel. He sold his
He's
hologram.
So weird, though.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
Is he the one?
the
with-
Deal or No Deal.
Yeah, but he. Never mind. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking about the prolapse
yeah,
TikTok?
I am.
Yeah, he did the prolapse TikTok.
That is enough
Yeah.
in the zeitgeist for me to
Right.
know about it.
Yeah, but there's a like a lot of like just the idea that you could sell your voice or your face speaking, like your face saying, "Hey, what's up?" Like,
So I'm.
or
kinda
you could be in an
shocked.
AI generated commercial
I mean, amazing-
with you in it that you never acted in.
Imagine opening a Cameo account and just giving it to your digital twin. That's something they're talking about at marketing conferences, the digital twin as an assistant. And the thing is, the pitch was, I was just at a conference for this HubSpot conference. The pitch was like, you know those meetings that could have been an email? What if you send your digital twin to those meetings instead? And it's like they've cloned every single piece of data that they have, so the digital twin is supposed to be able to make decisions that, you know, reflect your own. But if you look at like shit like self-driving cars
Yeah.
and how poorly that's going, can you imagine
Yeah.
what a digital twin could do? Elon Musk's fucking digital twin would be a nightmare person.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it would be like, do they deserve rights? more than trans people, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like there's some like economic precedent with like the voice cloning ad shit too, because like I don't know, like you'd have to fact check me on this, but like I've heard that like Morgan Freeman, for example, owns the rights to voiceovers of his voice done by other people that sound exactly like him.
Whoa.
Like there's like a budget version where you can get like the Morgan Freeman voiceover experience for your media, but he didn't even do it.
Wild.
But it's like a guy that's like sounds just like him.
It's like Da Vinci style, Da Vinci Studio.
It reminds me of somebody like if I had no scruples and was a
Right.
celebrity, I would try to somehow create a cameo where I could just churn out thousands of them, like through an AI generator, to like, hello to Brittany, you know, have a great day, and just make bank without doing anything.
Yeah.
Or like start vlogging.
Yeah, start
It's like have
vlogging.
your AI avatar
Make the
vlog.
content. Post every day.
Yeah. That's horrifying, but that's an art project. That's wild.
Yeah.
That'd
Yeah.
be really interesting.
I could totally see that becoming like having a cult following though, like an AI influencer that everyone knows is AI and it's completely autonomous and it's just like doing unhinged shit and everyone's just like, wow, we love this thing.
Yeah.
What's it gonna do next?
It would be a conversation of like, well, who is it based on? How far has it delineated, or not delineated, but like how far off track has it gone with the data that is collected since it was based off that man? Is it sentient? Is it its own entity? Does it do we have to give it voting power now?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, like,
Does this like YouTube channel have rights?
yes, exactly. Probably more than the gays.
Is it accountable
I'm a gay, I know.
for crimes that it commits against people?
Yeah, not hate crimes probably, but everything
Right.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, it depends on the crimes. Maybe
yeah,
not white collar crimes either.
Like, could an AI entity be responsible for, like, say, like, inciting a riot
Yeah.
or defamation
oh my god.
or some? I don't know.
Yeah.
Or
Imagine a self-driving car becomes a chauffeur instead. Could you then blame the chauffeur? Like, can you blame the crash on the chauffeur instead of the person like trying to get somewhere in their personal driving car?
I've actually heard a lot of people talk about that, where it's like, if a self-driving car has to be programmed to follow a set of rules
Yeah.
that have been created for it. So that means that at some point or another, somebody will have to create a rule. What if, like, it's like either hit a mom crossing the street with a stroller or drive into a ravine?
This is
What do you
actually-
program it to choose?
This is a huge concept in technical communication. It's actually a big part of what I studied for my master's thesis, which is like how complicit is a manual writer or like a sort of foundation writer, coder, in the use of their product. And there's this incredible paper, changed my life, called The Ethics of Expediency. Really dark. It opens with the description of like how to use a mobile gas chamber. Look, you know?
Yeah.
And then it just, and then we sort of take this awful trip into like how complicit is the manual writer in the use of killing thousands of people with that implement, At the time I was writing descriptions for like dental work.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like maybe my description of the red bone saw was better than the description of the green bone saw. Maybe someone picked that bone saw instead. Maybe it broke on the patient, and the decision was made because of the words that I'd written.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a thought experiment. Obviously, I'm not the one who used the bone saw, but
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, can you imagine, like, if you knew as a consumer that if you bought a self-driving car, it might drive you into a brick wall instead of hitting a pedestrian, would you drive it?
if I
Like, you don't
had,
want to hit a pedestrian, but you don't want to drive into a fucking wall and kill yourself.
It's like a train track thing.
It's like a trolley problem,
Yeah.
but it's here, and we have to decide.
Well,
or not
it depends
us.
on whether you value your life or not.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
If you're down for dying, easy
No
answer.
issue. It makes you wonder too, like if somebody did have like a digital clone or something that was using data. Like I feel like so many people, especially in our age group, have grown up saying things they don't mean on like Facebook and stuff.
Oh my
and is
God.
that like what if you like said online like I'm gonna burn down your house to somebody when you're 12, and then your like digital clone like actually like doxes someone? Are you responsible for that because they referenced your status in 2010?
Yeah, it was trained on like horrible behavior that you did online in the
Yeah.
past with some like old account or
You're in
something.
prison now?
That would actually be fucking crazy.
Imagine like that the kids make the like kill yourself joke all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is now just sort of like an offhand thing to be like, oh my god, shut up, or like they're being funny.
Yeah.
But imagine if somebody took them seriously. It'd be like, well, dark.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's
No one's
crazy,
steering
man.
the ship.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though, is that at some point in the production of a program like that, somebody does have to make decisions like that,
yeah.
right? I don't know enough about it. Maybe
No,
that's not
it's
true.
true.
I don't know.
That's correct, but then like the person who's using it then has to make the decision to use it. So then like, but when it comes to something that's ubiquitous, like a cell phone, especially an iPhone, well, whatever, cell phone in general, you kind of have to have one.
Yeah.
And it's only getting worse. Like credit cards are on the phone and all of that stuff. So it's only going to get. It's only going to get worse. But if that's the case and you are forced to get a phone, then the decision is up to the person who's written the code.
Yeah.
But also, then not necessarily. You could live off the grid. Like you should. You probably shouldn't.
But it really impact your life.
But you can't really make people complicit for, their corporate actions because capitalism.
Yeah, there's an argument that they have to write the manual. No?
Yeah.
That's your line of work.
I get that's
I'm sorry that I've taken you here.
It's interesting.
It's a thought experiment. This is me sitting in my room alone,
Yeah.
staring at the wall.
Yeah, I think a lot of people a couple years ago, I feel like were like, oh, everything's gonna be VR in like a year, and they were all wrong. Obviously,
Yeah.
that's probably not gonna happen, but I think like us being basically forced to have phones, I think that same thing's gonna happen with AI.
Oh,
Where I think
yeah.
a lot of us are going to have to be using like AI in our day to day,
Yeah.
or face oblivion and fall behind technologically.
Yeah.
So pretty weird. I
It's
mean,
tough.
yeah, I don't know.
I think there's going to be some interesting art that's made, but I
Definitely.
think that what's been made so far is bullshit.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think that I don't know. Actually, never mind.
Can't
Never mind.
worms.
Yeah. Holy shit.
There was this thing that, I don't know who said it, maybe you guys know because you're more plugged in than I am, but I saw it and somebody was saying like, I don't get AI art because if something needs to be made, someone would have made it. So like, and no one did, and we
Yeah.
have this now. Like if something's worth being enjoyed, someone would have made it. But also there's the argument for like, I wrote this really cool prompt, dude.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I feel like AI visual art is more of just like a novelty, and I think there's also a massive copyright vulnerability to all of it
Yeah.
that makes it basically useless to most like corporations or businesses that might want to be using that.
Oh, yeah.
Like if there's somebody responsible for creating graphics and designs and stuff, if they're just going to use AI generated images as inspiration for their shit, I just like maybe that could be like, oh, well, they can't just use the AI, but they could use it to create concepts. Like if that's the case, that I feel like a real graphic designer wouldn't even do that. They'd be like, why would I go to the trouble
Yeah.
when I've been doing it my way this whole time?
Yeah.
Definitely.
I don't know.
I think the only way to get around that is to create one that's like only trained on what's in the Creative Commons.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then it would be
Yeah.
bad.
You know what I think would be
It would just suck. It would just suck so bad.
One thing I think would be fucking awesome with AI generated images is if there was some way you could have your own AI image generator that's trained on everything that you've already made.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Like, what if I could take 1,000 images that I have made, train AI on it to generate shit? Like,
I'm sure that would be coming. Like, I'm
yeah,
sure that's coming.
That I would use that every day
That's
if
a
that
cool
exists.
product.
I don't know.
It's a really cool product.
Or you know what's another one I thought of that would be sick? Is if you could train an AI on an entire paint company's portfolio of color products that they have, so that you could point it at a color and it would tell you exactly what product and ratios you could make that color with out of all of like Winsor Newton's pigments. Like you could take, like if I
Does
could,
that exist?
I don't know.
I think that exists.
What, it's Sherman-Williams or something?
I think that's what paint stores use, and you bring them like a sample from your wall, they match the color and mix it for you, and give you a
Yeah,
can of
but
it.
you have to go back over and over again where you're like, no, that's not quite right, or that's not exactly it. I think that's someone manually mixing.
Really?
But what if you could take all the Liquitex colors, or all the Winsor Newton colors, and their products and paints, and it would say, oh, you just need like 2 milliliters of this paint, a little bit of the titanium white, and it, I don't know.
I think that would be cool.
Anyway,
You should pitch
whatever.
that.
Hey, Winsor Newton.
Hit me up.
Anyway, whatever.
It's super niche, but a good product. I don't
Yeah.
know if it'll happen first, but definitely
Probably
will.
not, yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
someday though. Life is long.
that's true.
Have we, I feel like this has been a super fun conversation, but is there more that we could tell you, or like, I feel like
Yeah.
Have we given you any
I
information?
don't want to.
No, I've also been yelling about stuff.
That's fair.
It's very entertaining.
Thank you so much. I hope so. I want to talk a little bit about, like, and you don't have to go on and on about it, but like the seeds of the podcast. I know that you mentioned that Talk Art was kind of like an inspiration, but do you want to expand?
Yeah, I think as far as the podcast format goes, we're directly related to their podcast because we're two artists interviewing like one artist interview subject, which literally is the exact format of Talk Art. And I like that podcast, so I feel like it would be lame to not acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But as far as the seeds and inspiration of the podcast, me and Theo have an extensive history of being at shows or sharing coffee with another person or being outside smoking a cigarette with a group of people and just having like a completely transcendent, life-changing conversation with like, oh, there's an artist here and some like, I don't know, like a band member and or like an architect, and everyone's just standing around vaping and chilling and like learning like so much just from chilling talking. And I don't know, and I feel like we don't capture that fully because that's kind of a magic that I feel like is hard for anybody to capture, but I think that's kind of the point for us, or for me, is just creating, like capturing really, really rare and cool conversations that are usually reserved for just moments with friends or a random stranger.
The genesis of the podcast was like we started having conversations together about art in 2020. And then like started the podcast in January 2021. So those spaces didn't exist at the time because everybody was home. So it was kind of an avenue, like the first interviews that we did, I don't remember how many of them, but a lot of them were over the phone. Like we'd be driving in our car because it was the only quiet place we didn't have roommates to record, and we'd be calling people that we wouldn't get to talk to normally who hadn't been able to talk to anyone about art in like a while.
Right.
So it ended up being, at first it was like a vehicle for us to document the conversations we were having because we felt like they were interesting, we wanted to reference them later. And then when we started talking to more people that we knew and then expanding and talking to their friends and people that were reaching out to us on Instagram or that we were reaching out to, it just became kind of a thing that snowballed because out of curiosity, I guess. So following that thread, and then now everybody's like can go places again. It's more in person, but it's kind of, it started as documentation and now it's documentation and the thread of curiosity, I think.
Understood.
Yeah, and it's just an excellent way to just meet brand new people. And I don't know, because like, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of people you could just DM and be like, hey, want to hang out? And like maybe they'd be like, sure. But I feel like most people are going to be like, what the fuck?
No.
Like, no, dude, I don't even know you. But
Do you want to talk about your passions and special interests for 2 hours on a mic? I don't know you.
Well, no.
On a mic, yes.
Yeah, see, but that makes people say yes.
Yeah, it sure does.
Hey, do you want to record a podcast for the Boston Art Podcast? And tell us about your heart and soul and your life and your perspective.
Yeah.
It's really cool too because now that we've been doing it for almost 3 years, it's led us to people that we wouldn't have met otherwise that are so interesting and so passionate. Like, I'm trying to think, like, some of the people we've interviewed are so, like, Sarah Gurn is a really good example. We interviewed the first year that we did the podcast. Yeah. She's an incredible, she makes boots, like, she's a handmade boot maker.
Wow.
And, and she found us through listening to our podcast and reached out to us about doing an interview. We went to her studio and she talked to us about it, and I knew nothing about that craft, anything about the history of it, and it was such a, like, enriching, exciting conversation that came just because this project, like, it wasn't like we did it to reach her. She found us and wouldn't have if we hadn't had that platform, you know?
Yeah.
So it's been really enriching interpersonally.
That's so cool.
Yeah. It's just exciting. Like new ideas all the time.
That reminds me, like, the conversation stuff. There's a lot of really great writer podcasts. There's one called The Writer Files. There's also this one called, I think it's just Creative Nonfiction Podcast. And this guy interviews, like, journalists, a bunch of different people, and he really captures that, like, a really intense, really, like, important conversation, just with, like, people who've been everywhere and written about everything. And I think that you guys are a lovely thing because that's sort of, it's not necessarily, like, casual, but, you know, like, it's not, I don't know, the spontaneity that you guys have really, like, lends itself to creating that, except for, like, visual artists and craftspeople, you know. And I haven't really seen that done organically before.
That was another thing that's pretty shocking. Like, the fact that the name Boston Art Podcast wasn't taken, like, a few years ago. Like, I mean, something that's been great about that is, like, if you look for a podcast about just visual art, there are very few of them, like, at all. And then if it's not niche down to an area, like, in Boston, I don't know, there's, like, a handful.
A podcast about art?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few.
But you'd think there'd be so many. Like, when we first went into it, I was like, oh, this is going to be like starting a YouTube account or something. Like, it's going to be oversaturated.
That's the thing, that, like, podcasting is absolutely oversaturated, but I think that's not a complete sentence. I think that, like, comedy talk shows, very oversaturated. I don't know, political commentary, very oversaturated. But I guarantee there's probably, like, less than 50 podcasts about, like, oil paints and conservation.
Yeah.
Or something. Like, there's probably go ahead.
I was going to say, I think part of that is the nature of the medium, because what we've found is, in the beginning, we were kind of talking more technically and describing things a lot, and we've kind of veered more into, like, person profiles in our interviews, because you can't see what we're talking about, you know? And visual art is a visual medium, and a podcast with no visual, it's really hard to kind of convey that. Like, a lot of the time we have to get into, or not have to, it's more inciting anyway, but like why you're making this stuff, like what it means to you, what experiences you've had through your art that brought you here, like where you're from, what inspired you, versus like this is what this looks like, what materials I used, which I think is maybe a better, it better translates to things like YouTube.
Yeah, and I think in terms of like, I don't know, to bring up talk art again in two ways, like I think that podcast also showed me that I can, like I've listened to many episodes of that show where I was inspired, I learned a lot, it was really cool, and not once during the episode or after did I look up what the artist's art looked like.
Right.
Like I just kind of forgot to, like, or I just didn't even care.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't care, but like it was just like their words and the conversation was interesting independently than just the visual art.
Yeah.
You know? And I think also, to travel back a little bit, another thing that makes us a little bit different from them too, that I think that we do is talk art. I felt like at the time that we started this, and this isn't like this is a really cool niche that they have, but they pretty much only interview highly collectible contemporary artists.
Right.
Which is cool. I want to know what those people have to say.
Yeah.
Sure. And they have the access, so they should do it.
Yes.
But also, like, you know, it's also not relatable for me as like a working artist. I have a job. I'm not like a millionaire with a flat in London or something. Like, it's not interesting to me to listen to rich people talk about like, oh, like I own like a fucking Van Gogh. I don't know. Like, like, oh, what painters do you have in your collection? Oh, I picked this up at the fucking Miami art, but whatever. Like, that's
gross. Yeah.
That's like, and like I said, if I was one of those people, I'd enjoy it. Great.
Yeah.
But it's like, I just think that there's a lot of conversations. Like, have you ever, there's an expression people say that's not based on any real number probably, but they say like 99% of art, like, oh, that was loud. 99% of art ever made doesn't exist. It's just in oblivion, landfills, burned, turned to dust.
Yeah.
Like, there's the amount of art that exists that we have compared to the amount of art humans have ever made.
Yeah.
That's a fucking massive difference, right?
Yeah.
Probably. So, and I kind of feel that way about conversations too, where people don't have to be a professional athlete or hugely financially successful or famous in order to have their conversations preserved.
Yeah.
Like,
sorry, go on.
Go ahead, please.
I was just going to say, I feel like regionally, too, that's really interesting in terms of this city, because I don't know, maybe this is true globally, but this is just where I'm working, so I'm going to speak on that. But Boston, like most of the people that are making art and music around here do not have access to a studio space. If they even can afford to have an apartment on their own. Like, everybody has roommates, everybody's living with family if they can, like, and where you're working is where you're at, and those aren't the people that are being captured by documentation of high price tag artists that have like gallery representation and stuff. Like, we will talk to those people, we do, but when you're talking about Boston culture and who's making art, who's making music right now in Boston, and what the actual, not even the scene, because that's like, that can be subdivided, but just what's current and what's happening, it's not artists that are like late career, mid-career, like fully funded by their paintings. It's people that are like, you work at Life Alive and you paint at night. Like, you know what I mean? So that's something that we found to be really lacking when we started this, is like, the Hassle is a really good resource, but as far as like podcast medium, it didn't feel like there was very much out there. There are a few, but I don't know about, like, I don't know how many of them are still functional too, because there's a lot that pop up for a few episodes and then aren't there anymore. So that's something we're conscious of.
Yeah, and Boston isn't really a destination city. Like you think of like London, Paris, New York, LA, like it's kind of a B city in a way where, and it's also a very transient place, excuse me, where not only is it home to some of the most like famous colleges in America, it's also one of the most expensive cities in the country.
Yeah.
So people, even if they have the money to go to those really great schools, and while they're there and living here, they're doing shit, they're like a part of the community, they're making an impact, they're making great stuff. Eventually they will exit their college career and move somewhere else. Like, if you want to pay fucking $3,000 to $5,000 a month to live in a shitty place, you're probably going to pick somewhere with a lot of opportunity and career opportunities and what, I don't fucking know. Like, maybe if Boston costs as much as New York City or LA, why the fuck would you stay here?
I have hope. I have hope for this city.
Yeah.
I think just because everybody fucking hates LA. The 405's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Like, you have to go in a car everywhere, and, you know, it's whatever. And then New York is what New York is. All those young influencers are moving there.
Yeah.
And for what? You know, like rats, and the rats are fine. Like, the rats seem nice, but they're very big.
Yeah. Too large.
And like for me, with that all being said, with the fact that, you know, there's such a large parade of people coming into Boston yearly, and just as big of a parade of people leaving at the same time every year, it's a completely different landscape for art and music and culture each time. And it's not that the college universe and academia and all these people, they aren't like the soul and backbone of that either. Like, there's a lot of people that have been here forever.
Yeah. Someone should call the Boston Globe and tell them that. Did you see that article?
God. I should let them know.
Yeah, like, you know, I know, me and Theo have interviewed many artists that have lived in Boston, you know, since 1958 or whatever the fuck, or people who are like young, like, you know, I know artists that have grown up in this city, and they're like young and like on TikTok and doing their thing, and they're not. They might look like a freshman from Northeastern or something, but they're like actually like a working class like kid, you know, from Dorchester or something.
And that's really important to highlight, I think, because like there was a Boston Globe article that came out like 2 days ago that was about the house show scene in Allston. The music scene. Yeah.
I'm mad about that. I am so mad about that. Don't out these people. Anyway.
I didn't even see that. What was it?
It's okay. So the reason I feel comfortable talking about it is because I don't think that the cops don't know that there's house shows going on in Allston. Like, it's well known. But the thing is, the article was talking about, you should really read it, it's hilarious, but it was talking about how, like, there's a quote in it from a Berkeley student that says, this is the part of Berkeley that Berkeley can't promote. And it's like about how like 18 to 22-year-old music students come from all over the world to go to music schools in Boston, art schools in Boston. They go to these house shows, and how you have to kind of like, it's like an Ask a Punk kind of model where you have to know where it's happening, whatever. And it's a music scene cultivated by young people. And I mean, whatever, that's great. That's great if you're participating in that community. But as somebody who's grown up here and didn't go to Berkeley or didn't go to like a big college or experience that for the 4 years of the art circuit, and now I'm older than that and I phased out of that, there's a lot of people that have been here the whole time. Like, Boston is known for their punk scene in the 70s and 80s too. Music is not new, first of all, But second of all, like the reason house shows are a thing is because we're losing all of these venues that would book bands that could be playing there.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of structural support for musicians or visual artists, not even taking visual artists into account here, that creates a necessity for house shows, and then most of what's happening there are people that are going to leave the scene in a couple of years, which creates a lot of tension between those people who have a right to be there and the people that live here that aren't scholarship funded, grant funded, might not have gone to college at all, that also have a right to be here and are like have been doing it for years, you know.
Yeah.
And that's not even talking about older people. If you're 26 and above, you're fucked.
I mean, that's true. Like, there's a lot of really lovely, like, there's other stuff going on, but you're right. It's like, it's not very scene-y. Like, if you're playing Pasta Planet, you're probably playing Wonderland a few weeks later.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's sort of there's a little circle of those Alston kids, Alston houses. But, like, something like the Democracy Center is a huge, like, I'm going to say bastion, but that is, like, such, like, a $50 word for what? Like, such a huge part of the community. And they don't really get their, I don't know, people don't talk about them as much.
Yeah.
Or, like, there's a lot of that, like, I don't want to talk about open mics, but, like, there are a lot of, like, businesses and stuff that do turn into little teeny venues occasionally.
Yeah.
And then there's a new venue. There are a couple new venues, hopefully, coming this year. Deep Cuts in Medford.
Okay.
And then next year, too, there's another one that I can't talk about. But there's stuff coming, but it sucks in a way because these Berkeley kids are superstars, right?
Yeah.
They are. They're fabulous and very talented, and there's no denying it, right? Like, that's why they're going to Berkeley.
Yeah.
It's because they are talented like that. But then again, like, this is similar to the internet conversation. Like, we have a group of people, maybe a little bit older, whatever, unique to the city, who have, like, the Boston culture and that, like, it's a different flavor of musician, and it deserves to be as celebrated, and it's just not as celebrated. And I think, like you were saying, it's a matter of getting them on stage.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is hard. It's just as hard as finding a place to do. It's just as hard as finding a place to paint. Like, there's just not spaces for a lot of these things that are accessible.
Yeah.
Which I think working class artists that aren't funded by either a nonprofit grants or like a college scholarship, they are kind of left out of the equation with that, where they're not someone you can count on as a gallerist to, like, sell their work. You know that you're going to make money off of that person, their late stage career. They're not getting that backing, and they're not getting the early career, like, I'm a freshman in college, like, I have a place to live right now, you know.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, because a lot of those people, what happens is that they have to get full-time employment, maybe 2 jobs to live in Boston or around Boston, and there are, out of necessity, like, you have to eat, you have to pay rent, like, it falls to the weekends, to the nights when you're tired, and then maybe falls to the wayside, and that's just a shame.
I think one thing to keep in mind too, that because I've been in the DIY music scene in Massachusetts and at large for over 10 years, and it's like, what I find is that, like, even if it, like, feels like it sucks, the Berkeley, like, Alston house show business and a music community completely populated by people not from here, it feels like it can suck up a lot of oxygen sometimes, but in my experience, it also, like, they show up and they're here for a year and then they're gone, and I never even knew they were here. I never even knew it was happening. It never mattered. And and I feel like sometimes, like I feel like they're their own bubble, and they're essentially just throwing parties.
That's college.
And it's, like, cool, and I'm happy for them. And like you were saying, like, they're superstars and shit. But, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that there's whole pockets of DIY shit too that have nothing to do with that are just as strong in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But even still, whether it's locals or transplants, the DIY venues disappear. They have, like, a 12 to 18 month life, if that, and then they evaporate or get shut down, or the lease doesn't get renewed, or whatever, and then
I think a big part of that too is the people creating those opportunities, like whoever is on the lease or whoever is working the store or whatever, like those are usually working class people. And it can be hard, like it's like such a false equivalency when you have these bands, like talent completely taken out of it. Like somebody that doesn't have to work, their bills are taken care of, they're on scholarship, their parents are paying for it, whatever, and they're from another state and they get to come here and do that, which is great. They should be able to, and they should be able to get their full advantage of their college experience. But then for them to be playing the same venues and the same spaces and being in the same circuit as people that are like maybe not college educated at all, don't have any funding, like this is if it tanks, they're bankrupt. Like it's like bread and butter and it has to work or you're fucked. Like it's just so, it's difficult socially and like socio-politically to be in the same spaces and to not have tension, which is bad for everybody, I think.
Yeah, there's no real answer, obviously.
Yeah.
I think like the only answer is just to have as many venues as possible, right?
Yeah.
Like, and have people open to booking, like, you know, whoever.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound old, but like, I remember I started coming around shows and shit in like 2012 or 2013, and like in the Boston area, and it's like, at that time, maybe I was just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed or something, but it felt like there was too many house venues to even know about. Like it felt like there were hundreds at that time, and now it's like I don't even know.
Just like four.
There was definitely more real clubs, you know, that don't exist anymore. But
that might go hand in hand with the ways that Boston's been changing, though, because also Boston 10 years ago was a much less expensive city than it is right now.
Yeah.
Like even pre-pandemic, you used to be able to get a bedroom like in a house for like $600, and now it's $1,000 for anything.
Yeah.
That's like a few years ago.
I hate to interrupt, but I might hit the bathroom real quick.
Okay.
Cool. And I have to update the parking as well. Blah, blah, blah. What app did we use?
Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry, everybody.
It's okay. I'm trying to figure out which things you covered, because we pretty much covered everything.
We just keep going because we started.
No, it's good.
Actually, yeah, fuck it. I don't know. Is like the article or the angle like?
I thought you were gonna go to the bathroom.
I was, but I'm kind of curious. Like, do you feel like it is like so? It's like focused on like DIY and art in Boston.
Do I feel like?
Like I guess trying to. I'm
The
sorry.
article?
Yeah, like the writing specifically. Like, are you just? I'm sorry, I'm asking you a horrible question.
No, totally go for it. Can you try and synthesize that in a way that's not confusing?
I guess is the piece specifically about this podcast, or is this part of a larger piece?
This piece is going to be about this podcast. However, yeah. Well, you guys, first of all, great characters as people. So like from a writer's perspective, so fun to like.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
that's so nice of you.
Cool. Yeah, just fun to talk to you guys, and like your voices as, I don't want to say characters, but like people in general, personalities are distinct and funny and lovely. So that's really fun. But also, you guys are kind of a gateway into maybe talking about more fine artists or craftspeople in the area, because you've interviewed them, and you know, I'm trying to, on top of like writing this piece or whatever, direct people to you guys so they can learn about your interviews and stuff like that. So maybe there could be a little bit more engagement in those artists' work. Yeah. But of course, you know, I guess this isn't selfishly because it's not for me, but I'm going to use that word anyway. Selfishly, I'd love people to go check out your guys' work because I'm a fan of both.
Thank you.
I selfishly also love that. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, I think in terms of like, you know what, if I had to say one thing that I wish was different about arts coverage in Boston is that I just wish that people, especially new people or people that aren't really accustomed to learning about that kind of thing, focus more on, you know, going back to I love old people, like literally
we do love old people.
The older people that have been here for such a long time, because there really are so many like just like elders and people who have been here, like, you know, we have interviewed people that have seen fucking literal history.
Yeah.
You know, and like and talk to artists that, you know, like we know artists that have been living in like, that started off squatting in an abandoned warehouse in Boston, and they stayed so long that now it's their condo.
Wow.
And they've been there the whole time.
Yeah.
We know a man who's in his 80s who literally has been living in the same warehouse loft since the 70s, when he used to squat there. He was an artist squatting in the building.
Good for him.
And now he owns it.
Yeah.
He owns his floor.
That's incredible.
That's like, I don't know what to think about that, but it's a fucking cool story.
It is a cool story.
And that guy, and like, unfortunately, you know, I mean, that's just life, but, you know, not a lot of people know that guy or know what he's about or what's going on with him.
Yeah.
And he's not going to be here forever.
Yeah.
And it's just, and we also know a lot of people that are like very, very ingrained in and active in the local history world. Like we have friends that work at this place called the West End Museum, which is a local history effort essentially to preserve the history of the West End, which is a Boston neighborhood that it doesn't exist anymore. It's, you know, but, and it's just like those people know these mysterious older folks that are offline and are just out there living their lives, but...
And that's the thing too, like, I just want to also say, like, I feel like whenever I talk about this, I come off very, like, anti people moving to Mass or, like, anti-college students. That's not how I feel, but I think that there's a lot of culture here that is, like, a working class perspective of people that have been here for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years that just doesn't get captured. And I think that it's important to elevate that, to your point, because it just goes away, you know?
Yeah. It just goes away.
And the way that people, like, especially, like, on TikTok in, like, recent years, the way that people, like, characterize Boston is, like, not my lived experience at all.
Right, the Seaport TikToks?
Yeah.
I see those all the time.
It's like, this is not a pretty cute place to be. I'm sorry.
It's almost embarrassing.
It's so weird. Oh my gosh. It's like, I don't know. It's like if we were, like, a resort of England.
Yeah. That's true.
It's like
we're
England,
London Junior.
Yeah. But like way not as good.
Budget London.
Yeah. And I wanna echo that as something similar that you're saying, that like the colleges here and the students and the schools are a huge part of the life force of this place, and it brings so much new perspectives and fun and culture, and that's fucking an awesome thing. But I would love to see an art landscape where those people were also very aware of the older people in history that they're existing in.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not all just like your white guys with mustaches from the 1800s.
Yeah.
And even a lot of those people from the 1800s, a lot of those people were like LGBT, like social rights advocates.
Yeah.
But they just are painted wearing suits and like black oil paint. So they look like scary colonial figures. But like a lot of John Singer Sargent paintings are paintings of rich gay people from Boston.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And it's just, and that's a really different, and that's going back to, I'm not even talking, I'm not saying I wish college students knew about the 1800s. That, you know, that's a dumb perspective. But I'm talking about just the old people that are alive.
Yeah.
And are here and built this landscape for these kids to be here benefiting from.
Yeah.
I just think that would enrich everybody a little more, because I think it would make the locals hate college people less, and I think it would make the college people a lot more, enriched and happier, and I think they would benefit even more from being here.
I think they would really benefit from understanding the Boston culture as part of their college experience, because it'll give them, I think, a new perspective that's not Diet England.
Yeah. And it's hard too, because I think there's a sentiment, and like I feel like I even felt like this at different points when I was younger and like in art school, that there's like Boston as an entity is this like, it's a wealthy city where people don't want you to be creative, and like there's all this pushback and we have to change the scene, and it's like Boston, like I guess it depends what you're talking about, but Boston right now is different than what Boston was, and the people who were in Boston in the 70s and 80s, like at the Rat or like just throwing punk shows, making zines, like they still are alive and are not old. Like,
Yeah, no,
they're still here.
they're fine. Like,
Yeah.
they were all at the Nervous Eater show. I went to...
We're chilling.
Yeah.
But it's like that community of like that, they have that same anger about like Boston keeping them down, but it's like a punk community that exists still, which gives context to things like when you go to like Boston Hassle, like the Hassle Fleet, it's like a very DIY punk scene. Like that is Boston flavor, and there's historical context to that I feel like a lot of people come here, especially kids, like, and see the like, oh, the fucking huge buildings of Copley Square, like the Copley Society, the Museum of Fine Arts, and they don't see where punk comes into it, and they think that they brought it. And it's like, there's so much more to learn, you know? And I mean, I don't know, maybe they're teaching people that in schools too, but I didn't see that in art school at all. I'd figured that out by like eating shit over and over again, embarrassing myself.
And by interviewing people.
Yeah, I'm currently eating shit now. I will for a while, I bet.
Every day. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's the way to do it. It's the way to be.
Yeah, follow that curiosity.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I don't know. I just don't want to come off like I'm anti anybody. I just want everyone to get along. You know?
I want people to be like as earnest as they possibly can.
Yes.
Nerd out.
Yeah.
About whatever you're into, and I want to see it. I want to see it fail.
Yeah.
I want to see it succeed, but I also want to see I want to see the weird stuff.
Yeah.
Really bad, and like I think that comes from, you know, it comes from the kids, definitely. I mean, I work at a university, so I'm not flippant about them. I love them very much.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it comes from the kids, but like a lot of the cool stuff I see comes from that like working class, like Boston punk group.
Yeah.
That definitely do exist. And the older ones are so funny. I love them. So I met a former bartender from the Rat.
Oh, really?
Oh my God. She was incredible. We just sat together for like 3 hours watching the Nervous Eaters, a punk band from out here.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's so fun. But like you said, like, you have to document that stuff because her stories were, I should give you her number, but her stories were bonkers.
Yeah.
Like,
I'd love to talk to her. That'd be cool.
yeah, she's cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. There's also, I'll send you, her friend runs a metal podcast.
Oh, cool.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'll send you that. They made me laugh.
Please.
Oh my gosh. I love anybody who will just info dump to me. Like, just talk to me about what you're hyper focused on right now.
Oh my God, me
For
too.
hours, please.
Yeah, I'm sure this exists somewhere, but I had a really cool idea for a podcast where it was just called, like, it's just called Info Dump.
Yeah.
And you just interview somebody who's not a professional in any something, but it's just some guy that just fucking knows everything about Legos.
Yes.
And you're just like, all right,
We can
let's.
do that on our
And the
podcast.
podcast, and the episode's just called like Lego.
The Lego
Or there's
guy.
just some guy who knows everything about like I don't know, like Neutral Milk Hotel. And it's just
I've had that
the
conversation.
Neutral Milk Hotel episode.
That got me.
Yeah, and you just have to sit there and listen to somebody talk about some shit, and you're like, or
That
like
was just-
YouTube drama
Oh my god. Yeah.
from like 2013.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be? I don't know.
That would be
Anyway,
very funny.
Yeah.
it'd be really hard to make that.
One of my closest friends is like a Magic person, like Magic the Gathering card game.
Yeah, a Magic
I sat
the
with
Gathering
him-
episode.
I sat with him for like an hour and a half just listening to them be like, this is how it works. It was so interesting. I have so much respect for what's going on in that game. It's wild.
Yeah,
I love that.
Unfortunately, when that happens to me, I just like black out. Like, and I don't know what the fuck happened to me. I lose all sense of time and identity, and
Oh
I
my
just
God.
don't know where I
Listening or
am.
giving the speech.
When I'm listening to somebody
Just not retaining
tell me, like, I was once taught for like an hour and a half how to play Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
And I did not retain anything.
We went to a board
A
game party.
single thing.
Oh, I can't do board games.
It was
The second someone tries to explain a rule to me,
Yeah.
it's gone. And then I play it like I've decided.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happened with you. 'Cause
You do
I
the same
can't
thing.
read an instruction manual. Like, if I need to play a new board game and it's like everybody figuring it out, I'm done. Like, I can't figure it out. But if someone explains it to me, I can get into it. But we were at this board game party and everybody was explaining the rules to me and Brian because we were the only ones who hadn't played. And I was just like, okay, right, I'm with it, whatever. And I looked at Brian and they're just like,
Well,
and then
I
we go
just
to play and they're like, what's going on?
somebody else ends up taking my turn for me every time
Yeah.
because I'm like, all right, what's a good move, basically?
How do I play?
All right, cool, dice roll.
One time I picked Sorcerer as a class in D&D and I didn't want to do math. And
Yeah.
so I just pretended I was doing math most of the time for all of the spells. And my DM, who's very, very obviously knew the game very well, every single time was like, that's wrong. Why do you keep doing it? It stops the game. It's wrong every time. And yet you just don't, there's no attempt. That's because I know you're going to do it for me anyway.
Yeah.
And that's the reason. It's like, I love you, but...
Yeah, I need your revision.
So don't pick sorcerer if you don't want to do math.
Good to know.
Yeah. Just fun facts.
Oh my god.
That was scary.
That man breaks the pool balls very loudly.
Yes.
Serious business.
It's been the same guy doing it each time that it's happened the past 3 times.
God.
Respect though, they're good at pool.
Yeah.
Anywho.
Anyway, I think I got everything I had written down.
Awesome.
So that's great. If I have any questions, I'll let you know.
Totally.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for reaching out and wanting to talk to us. And fuck yeah.
Yeah, this has been great.
It's always like one thing we say a lot, and this isn't like this isn't a negative statement at all, but nobody ever asks us questions to the degree that we ask people questions because of the nature of what we do. So when people do, it's we appreciate it a lot.
Yeah.
Like when we have the opportunity to answer questions instead of like focusing in on somebody, you know what I mean? It's just it's like really cool because interviewing and publishing is like a labor of love, obviously, as you know well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know, so it's cool when we can share our perspective and shit.
Yeah.
I forgot one question, and this might be cool to end on, I don't know.
Sure.
But like for the kids, just in general, I mean, I'm sure your audience knows, but like, can you give me an overview of what work you're up to right now?
Oh yeah, like our own personal art stuff?
Yeah.
What am I doing right now? I've been doing a lot of jelly printing. For me, I have like a regular like day job thing, and then I just kind of experiment with my other stuff. So I've been trying to just kind of like I was saying earlier, do stuff that is not my typical medium. And I'm also trying to relearn some skill sets and stuff I've done before. So I've been doing a lot of gouache, pen and ink. I got a sketchbook that's all grid paper, so I've been using that recently to try and break my perfectionism thing of like, this isn't paper that you can frame and sell, quote unquote. Although you probably can, but I've been trying to play with that a lot more. I'm playing with found photographs for a collage too. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just working on my, the infinite body of work. Not a series, just painting.
Yeah.
And I'm also, I'm probably going to start in the next month or so laying the groundwork for the release of my current album. So... and it's gonna be weird. It's like indie pop, electronica, EDM, with some kind of like, also with a lot of 8-bit kind of video game, kind of old tech sounds.
And we both started learning Unity like a few days ago.
Yeah, we're also experimenting with game design.
Nice.
Who knows if that'll stick?
Who knows where that'll go? It's really fucking hard.
It's really hard.
Maybe we can interview a game designer and they can teach
Maybe
us.
someone will tell me how to do it.
Anywho,
For your album, is there like a concept, a cohesive like thing, or are you just releasing like tracks that sort of fit together?
I mean, a lot of my songwriting is pretty much always about kind of reckoning with interpersonal situations and growth, and also some themes of spiritualism and occultism, maybe even. But a lot of it's just about, a lot of it's kind of autobiographical and introspective,
Cool.
As is all songwriting.
Yeah.
I always have to ask because I realized I did when I wrote that album that never got anything because I don't feel like it. When I was writing it, I could not write about myself and was like, you know what, I'll just write a narrative. I'll write a concept album.
Totally.
And I finished the thing and then realized the whole time that I had actually just written a book instead. But just because the whole thing, how a concept album's usually not chronological with like I ended up just writing like the background of it. I have a whole document and the whole thing is just notes about what's happening in the story. And I'm like, this is not how that works. This is just a novella with extra steps.
That's awesome.
It's I never wrote it. I should do that, but like So I always have to ask because I have a hard time writing about myself. But even when you're not writing about yourself, you're writing about yourself.
Yeah, and for me, when I'm doing that kind of stuff, I try not to make it feel like some kind of confessional, like crying bullshit, like bright eyes thing.
It's not self-indulgent.
Yeah, and I like that kind of stuff too, but I try to make it, even if it's autobiographical, also feel like a concept album.
Yeah.
Like, because the concept albums are really good and they're engaging and they bring you into a narrative. So I like to adopt, anyway. But yeah, songwriting. So I'll probably release some shit for that soon, or try to figure out how I'm going to put out the whole thing.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I also forgot that I've also been doing curatorial stuff lately.
Right, Theo is an independent curator.
Cool. Yeah. So that's been fun. I only started doing that in like a actual professional capacity this year, but I just, like, if something has been less than like a month ago, I forget that I'm doing it.
It's okay, me too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been fun. I curated a show that actually went up at a gallery in the Seaport by Fort Point Arts Community. Thank you. Yeah, it was really crazy. But yeah, it was called Holding Space. It was all queer artists from the Boston, Massachusetts area. Cool. So it was fun. And I had some slated for this fall, but they fell through, and I'm a little relieved. It's like some time to like relax a little bit, but that'll be happening again for me in the next few months.
Hell yeah.
All right.
So I guess that's it, huh?
Yeah, go team.
Yeah.
Go
Woo.
team.
Great.
All right, Boston Art Podcast.
And the other one.
Boston Art Podcast is an independent DIY production by Brian Huntress and Theodora Earthworms. The information contained in this episode represents the views and opinions of the original creators or our guests, and does not represent any institution, organization, or business. Find us on Instagram at Boston Art Podcast, and tune in for a new episode every Friday. Thank you for listening.